Hey everybody, it's Sunday, April 11th, 2021. Thank you for being here for this broadcast. My name is JJ. You're watching Bull Boom Bear Bust. Well, I've got some very concerning news to report today, and we've been watching prices rise as stimulus checks are being sent out, as the jobless filings continue to be between 600 and 900,000 every week for new jobless filings. So we know that this narrative of this economic recovery is very flawed, to say the least. Now, if they send out enough support and stimulus checks, sure, it can make the economy look better. It will bring back some jobs until the stimulus wears off, until the sugar high wears off. So what are we seeing now? Now we're seeing some very bad news. Consumer debt is again rising at a new all-time high, another new all-time high. So you would think with all the stimulus checks and assistance being sent out that maybe debt would drop. Well, debt is not dropping, it's increasing. We're going to look at some charts here in a minute. But when prices continue to rise and you're sending out stimulus checks, this is bound to happen. We've been saying this is going to happen for years. Now it's happening. Right? So you have less people working, more people spending money, less people working, less production, and more money. So more money being thrown at less items to purchase equals rising prices. So now, in addition to the stimulus checks, people have to continue to take on more debt, right? Where does this end? This is absolutely insane. And now we've got lawmakers talking about a fourth stimulus check, and we'll talk about that here in a minute, and continuous, what they're calling continuous stimulus checks. Right? They're not using the phrase UBI or the word UBI. Actually, that's an acronym, but you know what I'm talking about. Now let's go back to this article right here. This is out of CNBC. Household debt rises to new record high. Now this was back in February. Guess what? It's gotten even higher since then. Now some of you may say, well, of course, JJ, that's nothing new. The population is growing. So obviously there's going to be more total debt because there's more people, right? Well, not so fast. Take a look at this. It's not just overall debt. It's the average debt that's also rising and breaking records. Experian.com recent article. Average U.S. consumer debt reaches new record in 2020. And just in 1 year, from 2019 to the end of 2020, we are up 6%. So does anyone think it's a coincidence that debt is rising as prices are rising? Right? More debt equals higher prices. It's pretty simple, right? You have more money to throw at whatever you're going to purchase, more loans, more mortgages being given out, higher home prices. Not too hard to figure out, right, people? All right, and here's another article. This is bankrate.com. Here is a snapshot of average debt per individual. The average individual has $5,000, $5,300 worth of credit card debt. Personal loans, $16,400. Auto loans, $19,700. Student loans, almost $39,000. Home equity, $42,000. Average mortgage debt, $208,000. Right, so again, it's the land of opposites, supposedly in an amazing economic recovery, yet people have to take on more and more debt in addition to record spending, record stimulus checks being sent out, record number of people on assistance and handout programs. Right, this economy is absolute nightmare. It's an absolute nightmare. The only way people are continuing to make purchases is going further into debt. Remember, the money printers said they're going to be there with whatever it takes for the banks, not for the people, for the banks. That means the people are going to be ever dependent on borrowing money, dependent on the banks. All right, and another thing that's so scary about this is we have record numbers of people that are behind on their mortgages and their payments and their rents and the utilities, but banks are still loaning out money. Remember, back in 2008 financial crisis, banks pulled back on the lending. They were concerned because so many people were losing their homes, not making their mortgage payment. Now, no care in the world. Maybe the banks have learned that the Fed's always going to be there to buy the debt, to allow endless lending. All right, now the reserve requirement for banks is in question. We'll have to see how this plays out, but right now it's looking like more and more debt and never ending propping up for the banks. Now, Peter Schiff always has a way with words. Let's go over to Twitter and see what he has to say. Schiff tweeted out the following: "It looks like consumers are running low on stimulus money. As a result, they're now spending money the old-fashioned way. They're borrowing it. February consumer credit surged 27.6 billion, 10 times the consensus estimate, the biggest beat ever, and the most since November 2017. Now, I really liked one of the replies down here. Brandon Kelly replied with this: "They can just print more," and it gives you the basic fractional reserve banking cycle. All right, so we start at the beginning, and the example here is $1,000 gets put into the bank. The bank only has to keep a fraction of that. In this case, they used a 10-to-1 ratio, so they keep $100 in reserves, and they loan out $900. So now there's $900 more in the system that people have. And the money that's in the system gets spent, it gets shuffled around, some of it gets put into the bank, where it again is loaned out at a fractional level. So whatever percent of the money that goes into the bank gets loaned out again, maybe 10 times what it is, maybe more. Some people are saying the fractional amount is now less than 1%. Nobody has the exact number, but you see what's happening here. It is the multiplier effect in the monetary system. All right, so it's leverage on top of leverage on top of leverage. Now, the danger lies when the banks decide to pull back on the lending. Then you have all that leverage that has to unwind, and that's when the real noticeable decline begins, and that's deflation. Will that happen? Well, we'll have to see. Historically, it always has happened at some point, but many people are saying this time it's different. Historically, we've seen boom and bust cycles. That was even an influence for the name of this channel, Bull, Boom, Bear, Bust. There's always been boom cycles and bust cycles. Well, now the boom and the bust are different. The middle class is going bust. The bottom 50% is going bust. The top 50% are seeing even a larger boom. So there's still booms and busts happening, but now it's more divided in this K-shaped economic system. And the wealth gap is continuing to get wider. But what's not new is the top 10% and the people at the very top are getting the most from this system right now, this monetary cycle. So what's next? How to prepare? When will it end? Debt at all-time highs. More stimulus checks need to be sent out. Even with the stimulus checks that have already been sent out, debt still rising, new all-time highs. How do you explain that? Thanks, everybody. You let me know. Thanks for watching. Bye for now. Stay well, stay safe, stay prepared. Peace.